What's up, everybody? Welcome to Philly with John Marks on PHLY. Brought to you by Bet Parks, Central City, Toyota. As Uncle Jamie joins us later on the show, live from Central City, Toyota. Shout out everybody out there. K-Red, as always, the first one, giving us a morning. What's up, K-Red? One day, Tyler, we need to have one time, someday soon, too, we need to have our Mad Chatters in here for a live show. So they can come in. Like K-Red, every morning you're with us. Every morning I see that morning up there on the chat. We need you. We need to start getting some of our people in studio. We appreciate y'all if you're watching on YouTube live every morning at 8 o'clock. It is a Thursday morning. We have more tush push talk coming up later in the program. I don't know if you saw that Gene Hackman died. Was this overnight, I guess? Gene Hackman, who was 95 years old. I didn't realize he was 95 years old. But his wife also died, and his dog was also dead. They lived in New Mexico, and all of them were dead. And it wasn't one of these like murder things. Police had said they didn't suspect foul play, which would be someone broke in the house and killed everybody. So, and I'm not reporting this, but I'm just saying like a lot of people are saying like could it be carbon monoxide poisoning? All three of them dead. I mean, you would think it'd be something like that. Like, it's one thing the wife and the husband dying. It's like, all right, what's going on? But the dog being dead. But a lot of people saying maybe it was a carbon monoxide leak. But Gene Hackman, Jesus Christ, 95 years old. Gene Hackman. Didn't realize he was that old. An all-time great. Gene Hackman. I don't even know what's the last movie that he even did? I was kind of looking through his filmography, and you go back and you're looking like, Jesus Christ, he's he's in the 50s and 60s. But I guess his Gene Hackman would be like, as sports fans, we think of Hoosiers. And I don't know, I'm assuming that still stands up if you watch it today, because cinematically, that was a great movie. Like, I'm not telling you that I'm the biggest Hoosiers fan in the world, but that's a 4-star movie. Tyler, Yuli, have you seen Hoosiers?
I have. I am not the biggest Hoosiers fan in the world. I think it's
it's fine.
A couple generations beyond me, or a generation beyond me. It doesn't do a whole lot for me. I understand there's a lot of people that really love it, but it's not. When I go to my top sports movies ever, it's not. It doesn't.
Oh, so he was the coach in The Replacements, which a lot of people quote.
That's where I think more about sports movie Gene Hackman for me personally,
which was like a B- C+ movie, The Replacements.
See, it's one of those movies that I kind of like know is bad, but I love it.
Yeah, you can watch it whenever. Yeah, no, Hoosiers cinematically, but it also makes it boring, right? They're doing from a period of the 50s, but it was filmed in the 80s. So, but anyway, yeah, so Gene Hackman, 95 years old, found dead late last night, or I woke up to it overnight, being like, damn, Gene Hackman died. Also, Dave Frankel. You probably don't remember Dave Frankel, Tyler, but a lot of our listeners and our viewers. Dave Frankel, action, and I know that the TV news these days isn't like the biggest thing in the world, like local news, but action news obviously has been action news for a really, really long time. One of my I don't want to say first memories in life, but I remember when Dave O'Brien, the late weatherman at Channel 6, action news, he had to he died because he jumped out of a plane and the parachute didn't open. So I remember my mom like crying because he was a very, very popular weatherman. So then Dave Roberts became the guy for many, many years. But Dave Frankel they moved him from being just like a reporter, and they're like, hey, you're going to be a weatherman. And he was the number 2 weatherman for a long time. And he was very popular. And then he was like a tech reporter. I was reading his biography yesterday. He was 67. He passed away at 67. But yeah, Dave Frankel, I was like, damn, Dave Frankel? I hadn't even thought of him for so many years. But yeah, that was during the heyday of action news. There's that news van again. And it's I would play the song right now, the but I did that in a segment when I worked on radio, and there was a cease and desist that was sent literally, like it was almost instantaneously that it arrived at the radio station. It's like, oh, well, we can't play the action news theme anymore. And the extended version is very good too. Tyler's really had to step out for a second. Andrew Fraser stepped in here to help out. I'm sure that he's familiar with the extended version of it, where it's just not the dun 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 dun, dun, so where you have the vocals at the end of the show. Move closer to the world, my friends.
Yep.
Take a little bit of time.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Great singer, by the way.
Move closer to your world, my friends, and you'll dun, 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 dun. Who remembers Joe Carcione with the tip of the day? You don't remember that because you're too young, Andrew.
Way too young, yeah.
It was a syndicated every day for a minute. You would have this old Italian guy from a fruit stand or a farmer's market. And he'd come on and he'd be holding the cantaloupe, being like, "Oh, you want a cantaloupe that's nice and firm?" And that's and I'm Joe Carcione with my tip for the day. And you would think that Joe Carcione was in South Philly, but in reality, I don't know where the hell he was. He was all over. So anyway, so R.I.P. Dave Frankel, as he has passed away at the age of 67, and Gene Hackman. I wanted to get on, and maybe we'll wait for Tyler to come back, but so I've decided that with the 76ers, and they lost last night to the Knicks, they were actually leading with 2.5 minutes to go in the game. And I was streaming. I was on YouTube streaming with Delco Steve. And I had the TV on in the fourth quarter. It's probably the only way I would have been having the game on if I was, because otherwise, like I'd be laying in bed reading stuff or watching something else. I have no interest in anything involving Sixers games right now. But it was on, you know what I mean? I'm streaming. It's like I'm downstairs in the basement, so I have the TV on, and I'm like, and I'm mad because I'm saying are they gonna win this freaking game? Paul George all of a sudden showing up and having a great game. They lost. So it's another very good loss by the 76ers. Shout out to him for getting a loss last night. But the big headline for me was Paul George. So I'm not going to complain about games. I'm not going to pay attention to the game. Like, you're not going to get any actual game talk from me. All right, I can promise you that for the rest of this season at least. But like, so Paul George, who, like, everything that I've seen from him and any player, and it's not because I'm a hater, it's just because this isn't, I have no interest in watching or listening to it. But like his podcast, I guess it was very popular. Tyler and I were looking before the show how many subscribers he has, how many views he has, and everything else. It's it's amazing. I guess it's like somewhat good. NBA is also a global sport, so you get people from all over that are watching or listening, which is fine. But like I can tell you, this is probably the first time I've listened to a minute of his podcast. And it'd probably be the only time I've listened to a minute of his podcast. But then you go and you look at some of his episodes, and it's like, all right, this isn't Micah Parsons that just gets on the microphone and is by himself and he's terrible. Like, this is actually probably pretty good when you look at some of the subjects. Like, he talked about the Eagles parade and the whole thing where he got swallowed up by the when he was trying to drive his car through the crowd and whatever. So I'm like, all right, like maybe this podcast is pretty decent. Still, I'm not gonna watch it or listen to it. But so I guess it dropped yesterday. So there was something that was floating out there for a while when he wasn't playing, that there was he's actually had more podcast episodes than games played since he signed with the 76ers. Which was, it's somewhat misleading because he is like he's doing it in the offseason. But anyway, he wasn't playing a lot of games for the Sixers, and he does a podcast once or twice a week. So that became the big running joke. I'm sure he saw that. I don't know what precipitated this or why this happened. Do we have this, Tyler? So here's Paul George on his podcast that was out yesterday. Here it is.
Up to this point, man, it hasn't been what we envisioned. I know my goal when I first signed with Philadelphia was to bring a championship to these amazing fans here. I still remain positive about that, and that is still the case and where I'm coming from. With that being said, though, I want to let the Podcast P family know that after today's episode with Dwight, I plan to take a break from the pod just to focus on getting my body right, getting mentally right, and, help this squad make a push towards our goal to finish the season out, give ourselves a chance to be in contentions to compete for a championship.
So that's him reacting to people making fun of him for missing more games than podcasts. That's what that is. That's a reaction. I don't think the team stepped in. I don't think his agent stepped in, because the reality is, and we went back and we're like, all right, well, how many days a week is he doing this podcast? So sometimes he'll do it twice a week. On the regular, he does it once a week. It's like a once a week podcast. And guess what? Like, he's coming on, he's talking for, Tyler, what are these? Like an hour or something like that, maybe 2 hours at most.
Yeah, I mean, the longest pods are like 2 hours. That's usually when he has another player on, like he had one with DeMar DeRozan. They're a little bit longer, but the regular podcast, 45 minutes or so.
Right. He's got two people that are more or less running the podcast with him. So let's face it, he's not spending a lot of time on this. And he's trying to do and say the right thing because the season has been such a bleep show and it's sucked as bad as he has. So I actually like Paul George. When I hear him talk, the times that I've heard him talk, I like him. I do. It's so unnecessary. You're now focused on winning a championship. You're 17 or 18 games under 500. I want you to lose. Take the rest of the season off, Paul. You come back next year, I'm going to root for you. I want this team to freaking win. I don't want to sit here and bitch and moan about the team. I'm not going to complain about the team. But like, really? Like, maybe I got all the sillies out of me before the show because I'm listening to him and I'm just laughing at just like, could the Sixers as a whole, I don't know if this is because of the losing games on purpose and the basketball gods are laughing at the Sixers, punishing us for those years of losing on purpose. Damn Sam Hinkie. But what else do we have this year? What else is on the menu for the rest of this year that we can do? Now Paul George is concentrating on the rest of the season to make a playoff push. What are we doing? If he would have done this early in the season, I would have been like, all right, that's awesome. That sounds great. Like, you're telling me he doesn't have a free 2 hours every week to do something? They don't play back-to-backs very often. They're normally playing, 3 games a week? He doesn't have 2 hours that he instead of watching a movie or doing a video game, he doesn't have 2 hours. He can do his stupid podcast.
See, that's the thing for me. Like, every human being should have hobbies and things they enjoy doing outside of work. Like you and I were talking before the show about when pro athletes are big gamers, right? Do you know what I like to do when I'm away from work?
Watch wrestling.
Well, I was a wrestling fan when I was a kid, but no, I like to play video games. You know why? Because they're cathartic to me. They're my escape from reality for an hour or so. Nobody would ever question me, the podcast producer, if why is he playing video games? He should be locked in on producing the podcast, right? Because we did our show.
You need to take time for you every day, man.
Everybody is allowed to have their enjoyment. I have no issues with Paul George doing a podcast and having the podcast. I think the timing of the comments is the only thing that holds any kind of merit, because I promise you, if Paul George in October said, hey, man, season's about to start, we're locking in, me, Tyrese, Joel, Nick Nurse, like we're locking in, and I'm going to scrap the podcast for a minute, Sixers fans would have eaten that crap up because they would have been like, oh my God, a free agent chose us and he wants to be here and he wants to play hard.
We are so easy to manipulate. You're right.
Bryce Harper's been doing it for years. We are, I think the only thing that has any kind of water in this situation is like the timing of this now. You're 18 games under 500. Your team collectively has underperformed the entire season, partially due to injury, partially due to the fact that you all have not played well when you're on the floor together in the small sample size. But I think it's just a timing thing in this regard where people are up in arms because they're like, you're doing this now? There's 22 games left, and you're doing this now.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to be up in arms for him saying it. It's just like my reaction is, oh, he's reacting to being made fun of, and probably also saying it's been a really disappointing first year. I was just on the chopping block. I could have been traded. Like, what can I do right now to kind of turn things around? And I actually appreciate it, because if the Sixers are going to get to the second round of the playoffs again, which I have real questions about, if they can get, I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about what's their ceiling now. Paul George needs to look like the Paul George that we've seen in the past, and I don't know if that's going to happen. This is an absolute mess, and there's only been a few times in my sporting life that I've rooted for destruction, that I've rooted for loss. By the way, this portion of the show brought to you by Glatt Hair Restoration. GlattHairMM.com, 610-980-4000. I'm getting a freshie today at the razor bar because the hair is getting a little bit too long. GlattHairMM.com. I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about now, Tyler. I forget. But anyway. Rooting against teams. Yeah, like I rooted for the Phillies to lose so Ed Wade would get fired. And I was proven absolutely correctly friggin' right. Because Ed Wade didn't do it. Ed Wade helped build the organization. He couldn't get over the hump. And firing Ed Wade, which was a difficult decision for the Phillies because he was that's all he knew. Ed Wade was at the organization, and it's difficult for the Phillies to move away from guys like that. They hired Pat Gillick, and they won a World Series because Pat made a couple of very important moves, right? So, like, there's only been a few times that I've rooted for death and destruction of teams, and I'm not there yet with the 76ers, but I'm damn close.
Well, I think I've been
very close.
This season I've been in apathetic mode, and that might be worse than rooting for the demise. So like the Phoenix can rise from the ash, right? Like I'm in apathy mode where I've just like you said, or like you kind of did earlier in the show. You just kind of laugh, right? You laugh.
I'm laughing
when you hear the news of this or that, or Sixers lose the way that they did last night after having a lead late in the game, or Sixers lose to the Nets at the buzzer, or Sixers lose by 32 to the Bulls and at one point we're down by 50. Like I tuned into that game the other night and I saw the score. I did the same thing to the Boston game. I tuned into the Boston game late last week and I saw they were down 25 and I just kind of chuckled to myself.
Yeah.
And my wife goes, "What are you laughing at?" And I said, "They're getting killed again.
Sixers are down 50.
They're getting crushed again." And so I think the apathy portion has set in for me, which might be worse than rooting for the just downfall so that that you can turn the page. Because I've gotten to a point where I am just totally apathetic with the team.
I'm just so out. Yeah, like I'd rather them lose by 50 than 7. If you tune in and they're down by 7, you're like, oh, they're 6 down by 50. It makes you feel a little bit better. I don't know, man. I'm a sicko.
Well, I don't think it makes me feel any better. I think
it makes me feel better.
I think in terms of what the goal should be at this point, there's just a guaranteed L, and then you're closer to retaining your draft pick.
Yeah, but it also means that they're going to try to run it back next year, which sucks.
I think they were going to do that anyway.
No, I don't disagree. I'm just so over it.
They're
so tired.
They're kind of monetarily capped, right? They've got 3 max contracts between Maxey, Embiid, and George. They don't really have a lot of monetary flexibility.
No, you would have to. No, there's nothing they could do other than try to add some veteran minimum guys. Who the hell wants to come play for the Sixers? When you're a championship team, guys want to come play for you because it's like, all right, I have my choice. I'm pretty much going to make the same money. Where can I go? How many years do I have to hear about, oh, well, when the buyout market comes, they'll be able to get this great player because they're the Sixers?
Sure.
Nobody wants to come here and play.
Well,
outside of you maxing them out, Paul George.
And I look at the one guy specifically that I think people are just under the pretense that he's going to return next year. If I was Gershon Yabusele, I wouldn't want to be here.
No, out.
I wouldn't want to be here. There's probably been a miserable season. Now, granted, he got a deal he maybe wasn't going to get. He played really well for France in the Olympics, and he got a deal maybe he wasn't going to get prior to that. But he's proven he can play in the NBA still. If I were him,
what's he, $10 million a year, something like that?
Probably, yeah. I wouldn't want to resign
on a championship level team.
Yeah,
yep, absolutely. Maybe you can do a sign and trade just to try to fit it in. All right, coming up, we have a Les Bowen, Jeff McClain style fight among national NFL insiders. What happened? What's the latest? See, this is while the Sixers are playing. This is what I'm concentrating on. Also, report cards are out for the NFLPA survey. Where did the Eagles rank? Surprisingly low. We'll discuss all that coming up. Uncle Jamie's going to join us a little bit later on in the show as well. And that's when we'll get into the tush push portion of the show. I know Tyler wanted to lead with it again. And I said, Tyler, we can't lead with the tush push again. I know that it's your favorite subject. And I know that you literally, like, you're not doing video games this week because you're just searching for tush push content.
Yep,
that sounds bad if I say you're looking for
you might want to rephrase that a little bit.
Anyway, we actually have some common sense from people out there, and we'll play that as well coming up later on the show. Where were you the day after Paul George announced that he was stepping aside from his podcast to concentrate on the rest of the season on a team that's 18 games under 500? Philly, where we want them to lose. Philly. Back after this, PHLY, 2-2. We're back in 2-2. That's right. All right, let's talk about Central City Toyota. I'm talking about Uncle Jamie for a second. All right, I was up at CC Toyota yesterday and needed the oil changed, needed a little bit of body work, and I don't know how the body work. I don't know how it works up there. I mean, it's Paul Brothers they do the buy work with it. So I don't know if you could like go in and say, hey, I want my oil changed and, fix my door. I'm sure they can help you out. But anyway, I was up there yesterday, got the oil change, got the service, got the tire rotations and everything else. And, listen, place was humming. They're very busy. But when I say they're very busy, that doesn't mean that it's a bleep show, that it's like, wow, they're really busy. Like, no, you can tell. Like, that is a very well-oiled machine. That's Uncle Jamie. That's Central City Toyota. That's just what they do. That's what they do. So if you're looking for sales, you're looking for service, it's the place to go. Largest parts and service dealership in the entire city of Philadelphia. CentralCityToyota.com. You can get all of their inventory, certified Toyotas, new Toyotas, their sister dealership in Ardmore Toyota. Everything that they have for both dealerships is right there on the website. And I talk about this a lot, and I was thinking about this yesterday. If you're watching this and you're working in the city, you're working in Center City, maybe you're even up in West Philly, that area. Hell, maybe if you're in Bala Cynwyd, right? Because that's not far away. But if you're in the area of University City, and why go to the dealership? Why to go to one of the places on the weekends and spend 2 or 3 hours getting your car serviced, taking up half, especially with spring coming, taking up half of your afternoon, right? CentralCityToyota.com. You can go on the website, make an appointment. They'll come and they'll grab your car. They'll take it back to the dealership. Whatever work you need done, service, other repairs or things like that, they take care of it, then they drop it back off. It's like it never happened. Don't waste hours of your life. CentralCityToyota.com. It's my Uncle Jamie. It's family to me. You kick open the door, say, let me talk to Uncle Jamie. CentralCityToyota.com, the heart of University City, 55 years on Chestnut Street. How about that? CentralCityToyota.com. All right, Rothman Ortho. All right, so here's a challenge for all you guys out there, whether you're old guys or you're young guys that feel like old guys because your body's breaking down. If you have a nagging injury, if you play golf and you're hurting for a couple days after that, and the next time you think about playing golf, you're like, yeah, maybe I should wait another couple days here. Still really, really sore. Do you know you don't have to live like that? So here's the challenge. Ask yourself, do you want to live like that? Ask yourself, why not go to Rothman Orthopedics and get this taken care of, right? So obviously, if you have a break, a fracture, you need knee surgery, hip replacement, ankle replacement, any type of orthopedic, Rothman's got you, right? They practice specialized care. They have a doc for everything. Every doc's laser focused on their specialty, hip, knee, spine, you name it. They have a team for your body part, and they're right in the backyard. But why not make an appointment? Because there's over 30 locations here in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. If it's your knee after you run, if it's your ankle, if it's your shoulder, if it's your elbow, you don't have to be in pain. You can actually go play golf when you want to. That's why you go to Rothman. That's what I did. And it wasn't to go play golf or do anything. It's because I couldn't reach the pantry to get the cereal. I had to get tongs and go up and get them like that because I didn't have the flexibility. I did something to my shoulder. I had a frozen shoulder. They diagnosed it, physical therapy, no cortisone shot, no MRI, and I was fine. 6 weeks. I spent over a year waiting for this damn thing to get better, and it didn't. Rothman Ortho. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and to make an appointment today. There you go. All right, we're back. Tyler, you didn't read this story on the insider fight?
No, I didn't.
Oh, see, this is why I'm on. You're playing video games, and I'm looking at this.
Yeah, actually, I will tell you. Last night, we've got our nighttime routine now with the baby, right? Get him ready for bed, put him down. And he got some of his 4-month-old shots yesterday. Ooh. And so he was cranky all day.
Yeah.
And so he kind of ran us a little bit ragged. So we got done that. We did our chores, and I'm like, see ya, going to bed. So I didn't do anything last night.
No. So they're the best nights. Yeah, last night I didn't get to bed till after midnight last night because I had a mess in the house, and the nights that I stream, it's difficult for me to do anything. I'm just trying to get the kids to bed so I can go stream. Anyway, so if you remember many years back, Jeff McClain and Les Bowen had some type of an altercation. They were fighting over Eagle stories or something, right? And they're fine now, and they're both good guys. But yesterday, out at the Combine, NFL insiders Jordan Schultz from Fox and Ian Rappaport, How about that? Got into a when I say an altercation, it was a verbal altercation in a Starbucks. Now, more on that in a second because it's ironic. But so it involved the story. Jordan Schultz had a story out there that said that Tom Brady and Matt Stafford had a meeting in Montana at a ski resort. And I guess Tom Brady has a house in Montana. So Jordan Schultz reported that it was a planned meeting and Brady hosted him. And Rappaport just said, oh, well, no, it was just a coincidence that they were there. You remember when Sean McVay just happened to be in Cancun when Matt Stafford was in Cancun? Do you remember? That's how he ended up in Los Angeles. And it was like, oh, hey, Matt. Hey, Sean McVay. Oh, hey, what are you doing here? And then it came out later that he absolutely went there on purpose. Of course he did, right? So what Rappaport's saying, like, that's a chance encounter. Jordan Schultz said, no, absolutely not. And it was like, and Schultz was like, he was pissed because what did he say here? He said that he responded back more or less like, yeah, like if you think that it's just a chance encounter, I got something to sell you because that's ridiculous, right? So Rappaport definitely it was like arrogant the way that he kind of responded to it. So he came up to Rappaport in a Starbucks, and Rappaport, I guess, was talking to an NFL GM, according to what Mike Florio was reporting. Ironically enough, Jordan Schultz, his dad's a billionaire, and he was the ex-CEO of Starbucks. So getting into a verbal altercation in Starbucks is full circle. So he said, we need to talk. Rappaport replied with, we don't need to talk. Schultz then made accusations about Rappaport. Rappaport, we're told, and this is according to Mike Florio, regards the accusation as unfounded. The two men were essentially face-to-face. If you have anything to say to me, say it to my bleeping face, Schultz shouted. If this continues, we're going to have a bleeping problem. Rappaport then asked Schultz to step back. If this happens again, we're going to have a bleeping problem. Now I'll step back, said Jordan Schultz. And that was that. There you go. So Rap Sheet reports this to, again, according to the report, to NFL security. What a wimp. Like, all right, dude. Like, we'll bring it locally, right? Like, if I got a lot of little snippy with people on social media, with another member of the media on social media, which for the most part I don't. I just leave people alone on social media. Like, I'll say what I want, and then like I don't really follow up. A lot of times on the radio, like people got pissed at me for things I say on the radio because I just like, you know, like I don't attack people, but sometimes you don't realize how something may sound to another person when you're talking about them. Actually, you know what? I got this back. Remember we were talking about, was this even on here? Anyway, I was talking about the Howard Eskin situation, and Matt Breen wrote a story on Howard Eskin, and I read a line from the article, and I'm like, because it said Matt Breen and Jeff McClain. I read an article. I read a passage from the article. I go, oh yeah, that right there's from Jeff McClain. I have McClain DMing me on Twitter, being like, that's Matt Breen's story, and you insinuating that I wrote the story and he didn't write the story, and I'm like, I don't even care that much about it, Jeff. But anyway. So anyway, yes. So Rap Sheet reported him to NFL police. So there you go.
You know, this whole altercation is one thing. I think the actual story is another. Tom Brady,
yes,
owner of or partial owner of the Raiders, broadcaster, like Tom Brady is towing the line and dangerously stepping close to some semblance of like messing with the NFL. And I don't want to say it's.
Well, I mean, to say that it's anything but a conflict of interest is ridiculous. Of course, it's a conflict of interest. And you know what's unfair to? It's unfair to
Greg Olson.
well, it's unfair to the viewers because they're getting a sanitized product.
Sure.
As always, Tom Brady's saying what he's supposed to say. He did it as a quarterback at press conferences. Now he's doing it. He's doing it now. He can't be honest on his analysis. He can't give you what Troy Aikman or Chris Collinsworth gets. He can't criticize the officials. He's working for another team.
Yep.
He's not just working for another team. He's running another team.
Yeah.
He's running their football operations. To your point, Tyler, yes. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
You're absolutely right. It's ridiculous.
I think it's league manipulation at some point if a guy who is able to be on a broadcast. If a guy, and then listen, it's not like it's, Joe Schmo who got involved in a team, right? Tom Brady's nominally one of the most important people in the history of football. Somebody sees,
True.
Tom Brady wants to meet with me. You're going to take that meeting, right? Because it's Tom Brady. And that's where the gamesmanship steps over the line, and that's where it becomes a conflict of interest, league manipulation, and this becomes an issue within the NFL where Tom Brady is able to have an advantage of leg up on the rest of the league because of these conflicts of interest.
Tom Brady is cutthroat. He's towed the line and been a cheater before. That organization was a cheating organization. They always towed the line, and I love it. But do you imagine having someone reach out to you or Tom Brady reaching out and be like, "Hey, why don't you come over to my house? Let's talk. Why don't you come over to my house?"
You're going to take that meeting
in Montana. Of course you are. Tom Brady's house in friggin' Montana at a ski resort. It's awesome, right? So you're right. The NFL's allowing them to do it. So I can't hate on Tom Brady. It's one of these NFL things. Like when Putin, Putin has somebody that's talking out against Russia and he ends up dead. The person ends up dead and Putin's like, I had nothing to do with it. It's like how the NFL handles stuff. It's just like, oh, well, no, it's fine. That's not a conflict of interest. How's it not a conflict of interest? It's ridiculous. He can't, if he's a minority owner, that's towing the line. He's having clandestine meetings on a quarterback they're trying to make a trade for. He's the top analyst on Fox. He's making $17 million a year. They can't allow this to happen. I can't believe that they're trying to allow this to happen. Allow it to happen. But yeah, anyway, so there you go. And listen, if they can actually get some talent on that team, Tom Brady will be able to recruit guys. Tom Brady's is a really, really intelligent, smart guy. So I don't. There's no reason for me to believe that he can't be successful as an executive. You can't let him run a team. What if John Lynch, as the GM, John Lynch who used to do media, what if he went back into broadcasting while he was running the 49ers? What's the freaking difference? Tom Brady's running football operations for the Raiders, and he's a minority owner. Oh my God. Just the absolute worst. Anyway, so you saw the report card for the Eagles, right? I know it wasn't great last year either. And I think there's reasons for it. But after they win the Super Bowl, after you look at the talent they have on the team, after you look at the general manager, after you look at the Eagles are a great organization. One of the best organizations, if not the best organization in football, right? Because they've been doing this for a couple decades that they're well run. If you look at the Chiefs and say, well, the Chiefs have won 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls, they didn't make the playoffs for 20 years before they hired Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, or however long it was, right? So quarterback and coach matter. But so they had the 3rd annual survey. They asked each player on each team anonymously to rank their current organization in 11 different categories: treatment of families, nutritionist, dietitian, food, dining area, locker room, training staff, weight room, strength coaches, team travel, head coach, and ownership. The Cardinals are notoriously bad. They've been last 2 years in a row. The Dolphins are number 1 2 years in a row now. You would think Tyler Zulli, just based on what we see and how we look at the organization, and I think this would be nationwide if you ask media members and things like that, Eagles are a top organization. You would agree with that? They're easily a top 5 organization, and you would think that they would, at minimum, fall in the top 7 or 8 if you're being ranked, even by players, right?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that they're not. And now, granted, I don't know the dining experience, and I don't know how they treat their families and things like that. I am a little surprised that the overall grade was as low as it was.
Well, I'll tell you why it is, and they were 22nd out of 32, which ain't good.
No,
but here's why. It's treatment of families. They don't offer daycare like most NFL teams do on day games, on game days, which I saw. It was the same thing last year, and it was a complaint last year. I mean, isn't that easily fixable if your players are saying hey, you should offer childcare the day of games?
Sure.
You would think that's easily fixable. Because the nutritionist is a B-. There was a lot of complaints among Eagles players about staggering lunchtimes to avoid overcrowding in the cafeteria. There were 3 suggestions that they gave: providing childcare on day games, prioritizing first-class seating for players instead of coaches, and staggering lunchtimes to avoid overcrowding. The food dining area got an A-. The locker room got a D+. It's a 20-year-old stadium and a 20-year-old practice facility, essentially. So they're smaller. Training room B-, training staff B+, weight room B. So they are not good or good in those things. Strength coach B. Team travel F. They're 30th because they're sitting coach and the coaches are sitting first class. So imagine Kevin Patullo sitting up there like snoozing in first class on the way to a game, and Jordan Mailata, who's 6'8", 370 pounds, is jammed into a coach seat on a plane. I mean, I'm assuming that they're just flying like they charter a plane, but they're not getting this big luxury first class seating plane.
It's a regular plane, I presume, right? Yeah, it's just like you said, it's a chartered flight. The locker room thing, like I've seen people comp, because Arizona finished in last in the locker room. I think Arizona might have finished almost in last in the whole thing.
Weren't they making their players pay for food?
It was almost Moneyball-like, where they were paying for the vending
food
machines.
To take home. Yeah, if you wanted the food to take home.
So the Cardinals finished in last, and I think the Falcons had the #1 rated locker room and facilities. And the Falcons Stadium obviously is fairly renovated. It's fairly new stuff, but the comp is pretty stark. The Falcons is like, it almost feels like you're in a spaceship. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of it, but it feels like this spaceship with like lounge chairs and everything.
At Flowery Branch or at the stadium?
I think it's at the stadium.
Yeah, because they're in Flowery Branch, was like 40 minutes outside of Atlanta, and that's not. I don't think that's new, but it's also like this. It's like a campus. You know what I mean? It's this huge facility. But anyway.
So anyway, the report is that the Cardinals are going to make upgrades, but it's not going to be done until 2027. And so, like, if you're looking for upgrades, now I don't know if the timeline's the same for the Eagles or not. If the Eagles were looking for upgrades, would those same upgrades take 2 or 3 years to materialize? And if that's the case, like, are you going to continue to, like, would the vote continue to be, well, the facilities stink, even though we know there's an upgrade coming?
You would think the plane thing would be easy to address. You just have to spend more money on a upgraded plane. You would think that'd be, if they got an F, that's something they have to address. Also, as Jeff McClain notes, the player poll was conducted during training camp before management addressed specific player concerns. So maybe they did address the childcare stuff. I'm not exactly sure, but the locker room can't be addressed like without getting a new stadium or totally renovating it. And like sometimes you just don't have room.
Yeah, I think the easiest one to facilitate, and I think one that would probably make most players happy, especially players that are parents, is the childcare option, right? And I think that would be easy to implement. You hire a staff, and it could be world-class staff if you want it to be, and you hire a staff and you figure that portion out. Now, I'm not saying schematically, it's just like, say, hey, we hired somebody, here's the group. But I think it would go a long way for a lot of players to say, hey, I know my kids are covered on game day for the 8 hours or whatever it is that we're all at the stadium.
I would say that is something that's easy to address and should be addressed, especially if other NFL teams are doing it. They're the most declined team, according to the report card. Also, as Jeff McClain reports, what would people be saying after having one of the best seasons ever and they won a Super Bowl? That was taken during training camp after a season where everything blew up in their face. It was a total crap storm. So after they won the Super Bowl, I'll bet you they wouldn't be 22nd on the list, Tyler Zuli. Just a hunch. Nick Sirianni got an A-, and Jeffrey Lurie got a B. Ownership got a B, which is mid-range.
Yeah, I think some of the things will improve just by the nature of how the season unfolded.
Yeah, who do you get mad at if they're not offering childcare? Not Nick Sirianni.
No, it's Jeffrey Lurie.
All right, you get mad at the owner. All right, well, there you go. Staggering lunchtimes because you don't want the busy cafeteria. That's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. All right. Well, Uncle Jamie's going to join us coming up. I also have an important meeting today with a suit here at PHLY, and we'll discuss that coming up because I didn't even realize that I was meeting with management today until I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? I guess I'm technically meeting with management today.
Can you be considered a suit if you wear flip-flops to work every day? Like, I think that kind of
and salmon shorts, tight salmon shorts. Well, we'll discuss. Uncle Jamie. We'll do our tush push segment of the show Coming up right after this, Philly with John Marks. Back in 2-2. That was the line of the day. Tyler Silly. Very well done. Very well done. What? So I have Glad Hair Restoration. That's right. I was up at Glad Hair a couple days ago. And you know what? Damn it, Tyler, I forgot to put the before and after in there. I had a fresh before and after picture. That's what I do. There it is. And that's a great one right there. I don't really need another one. But I also like when I look good in the picture, I'm like, let me just, all right, I'm trying to make this about me. Yeah, look at there. Look how great the hair looks. And I'm getting a freshie today. I'm going up to the razor bar. And it's so nice when you get, because right now I'm kind of like, the hair's a little bit long. It's been a couple weeks since I got it cut. But when you get that fresh haircut and you're like, all right, I look good. I don't look old anymore. I look good. Glad Hair Restoration. Man, you saw that before picture. My hair would not be looking good right now if it wasn't for Glad Hair Restoration. So for everybody out there that's experiencing different stages of hair loss, right? You can be where I was in that picture right now. You could be where you're just starting to notice it's getting a lot thinner, right? The perfect time. They're all perfect times to go to Glad Hair Restoration, but the perfect time isn't necessarily when you're already bald, right? Like they can help you out with that. But before you lose the hair, why not keep it to where maybe you don't have to get to the restoration phase of it? That's Glad Hair Restoration. They're the experts in hair. It's all they do. Their hair team, over 30 years of experience in hair. It's all they do. So when you go to the office, you're getting, and a lot of times I just like to go up and shoot the bleep, because you learn about everything that goes on in the business, right? Like they're in the hair business. I'm kind of in the hair business because I've been working with Glad Hair Restoration for so long. So you know the things that are new, and it's like, oh, well, like this is really popular right now. People are really getting results. And that's what's going on right now at Glad Hair Restoration. So where do you fall in the hair loss spectrum? I don't know. Reach out to me. Have a conversation. JONMARKS Media, John Marks Media at gmail.com. John Marks Media on all the socials. People reach out to me frequently asking questions. I'll send before and after pictures and other whatever you need. I can even hand you off to the good people over there at Glad Hair Restoration. 610-980-4000. The website, gladhairmm.com. GLATMM hair. Oh, Glad Hair. GLAT hair mm.com. Gladhairmm.com. Hooah. All right, let's get to Ace. Because Ace is the place. And thank God I got my desk and it was already assembled. Because the more I looked at it, I'm like, I got the desk that was assembled but was a little bit damaged. And I'm like, all right, like it's a little bit scratched up, but this would have been I don't know if I would have been able to put this together. I don't care if they're directions or instructions. No shot, right? That's Ace. That's everything around my house. And I feel like less of a man to say this, but my dad's getting older. I don't ask him to come over and do everything anymore. If my wife can't handle it, what do? I got to pay somebody. And when you pay somebody, you got to get somebody you trust, right? Ace Hardware Home Services. And they really cover everything, right? Plumbing, heating, cooling, electrical work, equipment installation. If you need seasonal maintenance, I know coming up here in the next month or so, my HVAC guy is going to come over, going to take care of it. If you don't have a guy for stuff, how do you know? AceHardwareHomeservices.com. They have a guy for you, somebody you can trust, trusted advisor, satisfaction's guaranteed, because you already know that Ace is going to make it right no matter what. Ace Hardware Home Services, equipment installation. You get a dishwasher, but it's not being installed. Wait, you think I'm installing a dishwasher in my house? Ace Hardware Home Services can do it all. Big projects, little projects, free estimates. Emergency services are available. If something happens after hours, you need somebody out late or early or weekends, Ace Hardware Home Services to get started on your project. Ace Hardware Home Services. Uncle Jamie's going to join us coming up here in 1 minute. Tyler, I do have a meeting. I'll be getting coffee with the director of content for PHLY. And his name is Jamie Lynch. Now, should we call him James Lynch? Or is he still Jamie Lynch?
I don't know. Is that his professional?
Well, I know him as Silent
name?
Bro, so it's hard for me to look at him as director of content Jamie Lynch with knowing him as I got to know him as Silent Bro when he started talking again. But yes, Jamie Lynch now the director of content for PHLY, and we're going out for coffee. So he's about as soon as I get off the air. I think he's here already. Did he already show up? Not here yet?
I don't know. I haven't seen him, but that doesn't mean he's not here. His office is all the way across the hall. So
Yes. So now a suit, Jamie Lynch. So he is.
But if you go into his office, the office is always playing some kind of jam band type music.
Yeah, he's a yacht rock guy.
Yeah, he's a big Grateful Dead guy.
Yeah.
That type of sound. Fish. He loves fish.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how corporate he will actually go. But he's still always going to be Jamie. But still, I didn't think until I thought about it. I didn't know that. I was like, wow, you know what? I'm actually meeting with management. Like, this is a real, like, we're going to talk about stuff. Like, how are things going? Some ideas for the show. Like, I am almost meeting with a program director. You know what I mean? And it's odd because I never thought I'd be meeting with Jamie as a member, like he being a member of management. But yeah, so I will update everybody on that tomorrow. As director of content for PHLY, Jamie Lynch and I were going out for coffee today. And this is an official meeting too. This is an official meeting. All right, this is an official interview with the general manager of Central City Toyota. I was up there yesterday. I was in and out. Again, I was in and out too quick. Was trying to get some work done. I actually fell asleep for a little bit too. I was doing work and then I kind of like closed my eyes for a second. And it's like, oh, no, you're done. And it's like, damn. He's live at the dealership
We had you plugged in right into the work center there that you could plug your laptop in. You had your Rain energy drink. Man, you were set.
Correct. I did. Yes, there are the right there. People are up. I'm hooked up to Wi-Fi. I can plug my laptop in. I have my, the other cord that plugs into the other. I was ready to. It was like a home office, Uncle Jamie.
Right? Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So, Uncle Jamie, where do you fall on the tush push argument? A lot has been made of the tush push. Something as silly as an aided quarterback sneak, and that has now turned into content for the NFL over the course of the last couple of years. Now it's a very controversial subject. NFL coaches are against it. It's a big national talking point.
Yeah.
Mr. Serious Mike Greenberg on ESPN is talking about it like it's, Roger Goodell resigning as being the commissioner or something like that. How do you feel about the whole tush push situation?
So obviously, as an Eagles fan, we have an advantage over the rest of the league since we do it so well. So brotherly shove, tush push, Jalen's butt, whatever it is, man. I love it. But I will say this: Mark Schlereth on one of the platforms I saw yesterday made a good argument. He said that back in the day when he was a player, he used to be on
Denver
on Field Goal.
Oh.
And he was with Mike Tice, and Mike Tice was in front of him, and his job was to push Mike Tice into the A gap over the center because Mike Tice was 6'7" feet tall, and try to block the kick. So he's saying, if the defensive team doesn't have the advantage of pushing the defensive lineman into the muck, why would the Eagles have the advantage of pushing Jalen into the muck?
Right.
Somewhat of a compelling argument if you want to say that. I do have to say, I love hearing Sean McDermott just hit into, I'm so concerned about the injury portion of this.
There's not one data point. There hasn't been one injury.
Not one injury.
This for years. There's not one.
I mean,
he sounded like such an idiot. Oh, my God.
It's just coaches don't like to have another coach know that they do something better than that coach, especially with the egos of these NFL coaches.
Yeah.
And they're thinking to themselves, the Eagles have just perfected this. They win every time on it. Let's just get it banned. And bring up player safety.
So there's been two coaches, and I'm sure other coaches privately would probably be like, bunch of BS. But like, are they going to come out and publicly say it? So Todd Bowles said, stop them. Like, no, I don't want to ban a play because we can't stop it. Raheem Morris, who's best friends with James Franklin, by the way, so it doesn't surprise me he would have this take. He's like, it should have been banned 3 years ago. And then Sean McDermott sounds like an idiot talking about injuries. And he doesn't like it, even though his team does. And by the way, if his team could do it, they would have been in the Super Bowl. But because they failed.
Todd, you made a great point about Todd Bowles. Think of the one coach in the NFL in the last 2 or 3 years that have bedeviled the Eagles. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on defense. Todd Bowles, that guy's no BS, man. He might not be the greatest head coach of all time, but I'll tell you, the guy knows NFL defense, and he knows how to give the Eagles a hard time. And to his point, if you want to stop them, like we do.
Yeah. No, I mean, like you had said with Schlereth. Yeah, there's an argument to ban it. Yeah, just make a rule that says you can't push the offensive player from behind. The thing about it is, though, you see, like, if Derrick Henry runs into 3 yards, he tries to go through, the A gap, and 3 yards in, he runs into a wall. What do offensive linemen do from there? They start shoving him forward, and he keeps moving his legs, and he gets an extra 3 or 4 yards. It's just that it's the quarterback that you're doing it. Yes. Yeah, so we see, like, this whole thing, it's not a football, it's rugby. It's not rugby. It is a football play because we see this happening. Like, there's no injury aspect to it, so shut up with that. That's dumb. Yeah. And, if the NFL decides, if too many teams start doing this, or the NFL decides that we want to get rid of it, then they'll get rid of it. The problem is they need 24 teams to vote to get rid of it, and they are nowhere near having that done. Nowhere near it. I don't know how many teams, they won't even vote on it because they don't have, it's not even close. They won't put something up for vote unless there's an actual chance of it passing. So you won't even see this voted on. For everybody thinks that they could get rid of this, it ain't happening, bro.
Yeah, I remember Mike McDaniel talking about the brotherly shove, the tush push last year after the Eagles, beat Miami. And he just, Mike McDaniel is he's an interesting guy to listen to.
He's interesting. Yeah.
Very, very analytical. And, his point is that, he looked at the X and O of it to understand how the Eagles actually do it. And he goes, they just drill that better than everybody else. And I give them all the credit. And those kind of coaches I appreciate because they appreciate coaching.
Yeah. Nick Sirianni talked about, like, he was insulted, and I was like, well, here's what you do. Be insulted, but also take it as the ultimate compliment. Because the whole league doesn't want you to do it because they can't stop you. And that's just not because you have a bunch of fat offensive linemen and Jalen Hurts is big. But, like, it's the reason why they're unstoppable doing it and other teams can't do it. But Sirianni's point was they work so hard at it that, like, it's almost like they're getting discredited because it's like, oh, well, it's a fake play as it is. No, it's not a fake play. So here's Nick Caserio, formerly of the Patriots. So he came up in the Patriots, Bill Belichick regime. Now the general manager of the Houston Texans. So now that everybody's being asked about it at the Combine, and Caserio gave a pretty interesting answer. Tyler, do we have it? Here's Nick Caserio yesterday on the tush push.
I think everybody probably has an opinion on it. I think what I would say, D'Amico and I have talked about this, you don't necessarily want to penalize a team that's done something very well. Credit to Coach Stoutland and Coach Sirianni that's a play that's been effective for them. They got a good quarterback. He's got good lower body strength. I mean, not every quarterback can squat 600, 700 pounds. So the techniques that they utilize. So again, just because you can't stop the play, I mean, is that something that you have to take out of the game? I think you got to be careful about just totally ridding the game of it. I would say, I'm sure the league will talk about player health and safety. Is it put the players at risk? It's a well-executed play by the Eagles, all right? And they've had success doing it. No one's been able to stop it. So, honestly, at some point, the onus is on, figure out a way.
Yep. Well said. And
perfect defense of it.
Yeah. I mean, stop it. And I don't know if he said that or somebody else said it. The other thing is you need a willing quarterback. So Jalen Hurts does it. You think Lamar Jackson wants to be doing that 4 or 5 times a game, or his quarterback C.J. Stroud? You need somebody to buy into it. And Jalen Hurts, is there another quarterback in the league like Jalen Hurts right now? Josh Allen, 6'5" and big, but you'd almost rather be 6'1" than 6'5" because it gives you a lower center of gravity and you can just get down and go. Josh Allen's just big. It doesn't make him necessarily the best quarterback for it.
And here's the kick is that the Bills were the second team in the NFL last year in doing the tush push.
The only other team. Yeah.
And Sean McDermott didn't seem to be so agitated about player safety when Josh Allen is doing it. I mean, come on, man.
Well, another 8 minutes spent on the tush push, Jamie. We've been doing segments and shows on the tush push. What great content!
Good Phil. I do. I'm going to hit one other point with you this morning. We're talking the college game. Abdul Carter comes out this morning that he's got a stress fracture in his right foot, and I just love how the agents regulate the talking points of the NFL. So his agent Drew Rosenhaus comes out and says, "Well, he's got some opinions going to get on it, but shouldn't affect his draft order."
Ain't going to help it, that's for sure.
He's coming off a shoulder, and now he's got a stress fracture in his foot. But I'm going to pick him number 1. I'll tell you, good luck. That guy will be like Nico Harrison of the Dallas Mavs as they pick somebody number 1 pick with an injury history.
We have now. There's a shot that the Eagles get him at 32. There's a lot of talk like Eagles need to trade up for him. Well, maybe they can trade up now when his foot falls off. he had a shot to be the number 1 overall pick. In this draft, because the quarterbacks are the quarterbacks. They're going to get drafted high if there's a team there that wants them. But you have Hunter and you have Abdul Carter and you have everybody else, essentially. Like, they're the 2 high-end prospects. And, this is going to cause – he's not going to be drafted number 1 now. And it may not even affect him. But to your point, you got to be a little bit concerned about his body breaking down at this point. I mean, Jesus, you would think like this is when he shouldn't be getting these injuries.
Well, extrapolate the college football season last year, especially for Penn State, to an NFL season, right? For the first time, Penn State played all those additional games. What did that mean to player health on their team? Extrapolate that to the NFL. I'm telling you, the analytic people on these NFL teams are diving into that type of data to determine whether or not this guy's going to be able to hold up over the long term. And if he's showing this injury history early, I'll tell you, it takes a lot until he gets to a certain point in the draft to where his draft value just overwhelms the rest of it.
Yeah. Free agency, not next Monday, the following Monday, 2 Mondays, is the start of legal tampering, which is awesome. Legal tampering. The guys actually signed. So just quickly, get 2 minutes on this. Of the big 4, Bond, Williams, Josh Sweat, Becton, your prediction on who comes back. Not what you would do, but your prediction on how many of those guys and who come back.
I think Howie all day long brings back Bond, brings back Becton. I think Becton has had a incredible year based upon the coaching that he received and the system that he's in. I think he wants to come back, and I think the Eagles want him back. I think the same thing with Bond. He got into a system with Vic Fangio. Why would you leave when you have that type of success? Get paid and do well. Why not?
Yep.
The 2 defensive linemen are going to get overpaid, especially for what they bring to a value-wise. Look at the draft. In the 6 rounds of this draft, 7 rounds of the draft, a lot of DT and edge talent. So knowing Howie, he'll draft into that. He'll draft hard into that defensive line, spend the money on Bond and Becton, and keep on moving.
Yep, and I think Becton's a coin flip. His market's going to determine whether he comes back or not. I want a veteran or 2, probably 2 veteran, above average players free agency. And I'm talking about 1-year contracts, essentially, where you're giving them pretty big money for the 1 year. Because the one thing, I mean, they're thin right now in defensive line. So the one thing you can't do is your defense carried you last year. You need to make sure that you're maintaining that. And I don't think losing Milton Williams and Sweat doesn't kill you, but you also just can't say, we'll be fine, we'll draft a couple guys.
And you also have to factor in, Vic Fangio is coming off the number 1 ranked defense. He's going to have a large say in what happens in regards to the Eagles acquiring talent on that defense. It's going to be his decision and how he's going to execute that plan. Because
I think it's a lot.
Building, Fangio is a deity right now.
And if he says, I need Zach Bond, I think it's a lot that Bond comes back. Because no one's going to pay him $20 million a year anyway.
I agree.
Yeah. And then I think from there, Slay is the other name that I would want back for 1 more year. You don't have an obvious replacement on the roster. It allows Cooper DeJean to kind of play in that hybrid role and kind of like, hey, is he really a number 2 outside corner? By the way, shout out to everybody watching on TV to watch the rest of the program. Go to allphly.com. So I think Slay comes back on, like, this is probably another 1-year contract. They'll space out a little bit just to give him some cap room. And I think Gainwell comes back too, because they like Gainwell.
They love Gainwell. It'll be interesting to see, though, if there's actually a market for Kenny Gainwell outside of the Eagles that pay him a little bit more than the Eagles want to pay, and then the Eagles just draft another running back and Shipley gets elevated. That's certainly a possibility. But based upon 2017 to 2018, the Eagles decided to pay a lot of their players to come back. Turned out may not have been the greatest decision. So I think that decisions that'll be made now will be tempered by that previous experience.
All right. Jamie Haberly live from Central City Toyota in the heart of University City. What's going on down there today? I took a lap around the dealership to take a look at some of the new cars that you have out there. I know the certified Toyotas. You have really good inventory right now. What's going on?
Yeah, so big inventory. Last Tuesday, just the 2 days of the month. So a lot of 25 RAV4 Camrys that I have that are certified. Very, very, very low mileage fleet cars. So a great time to get a deal on those. Service and parts, appointments available down there to get your car serviced, anything that you need done. So yeah, now is a great time these last 2 days to get in here. Yeah, we'll be open all day today and all day tomorrow. So beautiful weather. Time to come out and look at some cars on our lot and see what kind of Toyota you want to be driving. #1 brand in America.
CentralCityToyota.com for all the inventory. Yeah, so my favorite car of all time was the 2012 Camry because it was a limited edition. Like you told me only like a couple thousand of them were made. It was like I was driving a high-end sports car. This thing was dual exhaust,
Six cylinder.
Yeah, 6-cylinder. I love that car. And then I had the third kid, and Liz is like, well, we got to get a bigger car. I'm like, yeah, obviously we got to get a bigger car. But I was eyeing up the Camrys. I love the Camry. I love the Camry. The Camrys are really, really nice. I'm a fan.
The new Camry styling, all-wheel drive, 2.5-liter engine. I mean, the things are just it's when you see NASCAR and you saw the Toyotas on the NASCAR circuit, that's where Toyota brought to the passenger market here with these Camrys. So you truly feel like you're in a cockpit on those cars. Super cool.
Yeah. All right. Go sell some cars, Uncle Jamie. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day, guys.
All right. There he is. Uncle Jamie. Live from Central City Toyota. We're back tomorrow live at 8 o'clock on a Friday. And I have to go get mentally prepared because it's not often that you get called to a coffee meeting with the director of content of your company, Jamie Lynch. He said 9:15 was his ETA. He had texted me a little while ago.
You joke, but you're going to get there, and he's going to say, hey, shape up, man. Get it together.
Am I getting laid off today? Is he going to lay me off? Or is he giving me the pink slip?
I hope not, because that means my meeting's coming shortly after.
All right, so you have a Phillies VOD coming out today?
Correct, yes. Yeah, well, yesterday we really nerded out. Yesterday we deep dived Zach Wheeler and the fastball locations and extensions and things like that. That was me. Like that was the kind of content that like loser me wants to see. So if you're a baseball nerd, I really had a lot of fun making that one yesterday.
Yeah, my buddy Jack Fritz would probably like to.
Jack's a great Jack is a great baseball guy. Knows a ton about the game.
He sure does.
Respect him a lot in his baseball acumen.
Yeah, he wasn't like you would think that he almost made the majors with being a pitcher, but he's a local superstar, Jack Fritz. All right, we're back tomorrow. Shout out to everybody that's watching live on YouTube. I see Fit Dad CEO. He's at some movie premiere or something. I saw him posting on social media. Good to see him in here this week. I think Maniac Malloy from Bet Parks. He was supposed to do the show with me last week, and then I almost died. So he just sat there the whole time until we're like, yeah, we can't do the show. So he's my guy. So I think he's going to do the show tomorrow. So, yeah, it'll be a good one. So appreciate everybody. Subscribe, like, follow us on social media. Drop me a DM. Send me an email. Tell me what's up and hello. We'll talk to you tomorrow. See you.
We all silly like the mayor.